Ladies and gentlemen, please hold your hands together and bow your heads for Panama Judas. What better time to crack open the discussion of dualism? And I think, in hoping to remain poignantly poignant throughout the discussion, there'll probably be lots of ums and lots of silences and a lot of internal distractions. But I think that in itself is probably part of the discussion. I suppose dualism, we could argue, is boils down to the fact that as a human being we exist within and around and because of, I suppose, the absence of perfection. There's I knew I'd just sit here and get lost. Oh dear. Listening to the other conversation that's going on inside my head after talking to you recently about the the merits of removing the internal monologue from the equation. Hence why today is probably the best time to crack on with dualism. You've no doubt at some point in your lives come across there's two sides to every story, but in doing the maths, I think there's at least four, and we may have to look into future discussions of trialism and quadism. I don't know. Oh, I reckon I safely can say I experience about, at the surface, I'd probably say it was like 4 or 5 sides of me a day. But then, I think if we kind of start compacting the areas of our personalities and grouping together the behaviours we do as different they may seem on a superficial basis, I think as a general given, there are two kind of like hard drivers behind each of us. And the difficulty of this is, of course, is they don't usually get on very well. They spend a lot of time bollocking each other, I guess, and kind of goading the other one on. And as a result, I think we tend to kind of favour one over the other and kind of dismiss and attempt to bury the other. But the act of attempting to kind of dismiss what is essentially, obviously it depends how much you work it, but 50% of who we are, if we try and kind of allow it to be swallowed into nothing, eventually the fucker's going to start kicking and screaming. And as far as I'm concerned, that's probably the birth of our own unrest. That's when things get messy. Yeah, yeah. I to divide into two. To divide into two. How would I label each one? I suppose the kind of the chief proponents of each side would be, usually it's made up of a kind of a masculine and feminine, or as Jung put it, the anima and the animus. So you generally have, especially, well, they say especially in men, it's in females as well, but obviously, as a general rule, there, the kind of the preference to one is flipped. But there is the masculine, side, which doesn't necessarily manifest itself in, tossers strutting around gyms, wolf whistling and fighting on the night. I mean, that's an aspect of it for some, but the masculine side is to it's about control, but not in an overbearing way. For me, it's the need to self-support, and the kind of craving for independence. And I suppose when we go into the dualistic sense, when the issues start happening, this is the side that fears any idea of attaching, and kind of leaving oneself at risk, because it wants to stand its ground on its own 2 feet and be unscathed. So those who have no integration, I suppose, towards the other side of the kind of dualistic spectrum would, they would be, those kind of stereotypical cold northern men. And then obviously there's a flip side, which I suppose it needs, but then right now I'm questioning where surely that could well be part of the mass. Oh, I'm fucking bumbling. I think the chief point of this whole thing is, there's usually two driving aspects of our characters, and then over a period of time they fall out every now and again. So throughout our life, the goal, the goal we have, don't make goals, you'll be bitterly disappointed. The concept is to integrate the two. One feeds the other, and vice versa. So I suppose in regards to like a very easy to grasp metaphor, we could say how we spend our entire lives running away from pain, but in doing so probably neglect to experience a vast amount of things that make us who we are and allow us to see life in its truest and most beautiful. A real fucking issue with the word beautiful today. I've met people in my life, and they're kind of, and I've met myself as well, but the desire to run from anything that feels painful, to not kind of go through the tension. I recently, I've done it in a situation. It's employment based before the jigsaw piece puzzles start throwing their bits in. Fuckers. But without that experience of kind of pain, our experience of happiness is somewhere down here, So for someone who's fucking hit rock bottom teams times and being dragged along, for countless years, their experience of happiness is elation. Whereas somebody who has run from pain every time it's appeared is, their happiness is kind of like this superficial flat line. And I don't know, some of you will have spoken to characters of this nature, and yeah, not the most inspirational. But hey, we're all different. I'm not going to stare and blame anyone for trying to get away from pain, because I've done it many times. So I'm doing it this evening. I'm talking to you and drinking a glass of red wine, which will turn into a bottle of red wine, and then probably going out. Just because right now the idea of just sitting in this room and doing something that involves my own brain, as beneficial as it might be for me, it would definitely be beneficial for me physically, but mentally, to start teaching myself that I can be still with myself, which is something that you initially have to force, is a journey I should probably commence. However, I've already set an agenda. If you listen to the garbage that came out of my mouth last time round, obviously I think I covered the living without the agenda and how foolish it is to make decisions about what comes next. Recently, I've been kind of having like moments of elation, especially yesterday after reading some Alan Watts. The second we attempt to have a handle on what's going on around us and kind of decide what happens next, we are fucked. Welcome to misery land. And I don't know, unless you're an amazing gambler and you get it right, but I reckon with the amount of variables that exist, it's not going well. And then to give up control, which at first seems like a ridiculous concept, especially for the ego, all of a sudden, like, how did Russell put it? The raft's going down the fucking rapids. There's nothing you can do about it. The only thing that you can do is hold on. So in regards to kind of tying all this kind of philosophy, with dualism, is the fact that that thought process is obviously a part of one of these two characters that make up the kind of my dualistic mindset, and then obviously the other is the glass of red wine in hand, already deciding that I'm going to go venture out into a Friday night, despite the fact that the Friday night populace is one of the most unbearable collections of fucking human beings I've ever met. And they say the world is your mirror, and maybe right now, I think we've all had times of being the most fucking unbearable human being that we've ever met, haven't we? The answers to all your issues are a million miles away. Good fucking luck. Good luck sorting that one out. No, it's subconscious work, isn't it? It's learning what's driving you and pushing you in the directions and why the cycles of your life keep continuing, and in discovering that's where you find the implications of the subconscious, and from doing that you realise kind of which aspects of yourself are wounded, what you've been burying and forcing away as a means of self-protection, and it fucking hurts. It stings when you find out, but after you find out, you're given the opportunity in life for the first time to start making adjustments. The serial monogamists, the engaged at 16, miserable by 17, bruised and battered with 28 children by 28, Iceland dinners, the alcoholics, the drug addicts, the career seeking, where the fuck has my life gone types, the I need to travel but I always take myself with me and it's miserable, the why does this person keep on hurting me, the if I don't go to the gym I'm going to throw myself in front of a bus, the suicide idealist, the chronic writers of fucking poetry. It's all because of something, and it's sometimes easy to spot, but there's more to spotting it, I suppose. You have to feel it. You can tell someone that they've got fucking mummy issues until they're blue in the face, but it doesn't help them in regards to what they're going to do about it, does it? Don't be such a selfish twat. Selfish, that's not selfish, it's self-righteous, isn't it? If you're going to look someone in the eye and basically go, you're doing this because of that, and you're not going to get better unless you focus on this. Fuck off. What are you giving that person? Cheers for the reminder. Yeah, it's that easy. I will just rein that in, shall I? Rein it in and walk on. You know. I suppose in moments of desperation we can all be a little bit wayward with the way we converse with people. But let's not excuse ourselves too often just because we're given the impression that we're losing control. And I think in order to, we lose control, we become wayward in the way that we communicate with people. And then all of a sudden, we realise that the whole thing happened is because we assumed that we had control of external stimuli, which is a nut job approach to take to life. It's nice to be smiling. It's nice to be smiling at this point. And I suppose this is where we start covering kind of the latter stages of kind of approaching dualism constructively instead of just going, I've got no choice, 1 minute I'm going to be madly in love and the second moment just give me some tight young pussy to fuck, because it's a crude example and it's not a fair representation of myself, although it has been close. I suppose kind of as we start working with dualism, it's slow, and we question whether it's going anywhere for umpteen times. But I suppose the mind starts to find peace when the polarities present themselves. So, when needy, upset, heartbroken side kicks in and starts whinging, instead of the other side kind of aggressively stepping in and throwing yourself into like some chaotic cocaine-fueled sexual binge, it kind of calms down and goes, been here, got this covered, don't worry about it. And the flip side, obviously, when nutjob, cocaine-fueled, psychopathic jackhammer starts going, instead of the kind of the more female aspect of the psyche kind of getting all distraught and fearing the outcomes and loneliness, it goes and, just kind of puts her arms around him internally and says, this is what you do. And then once that's happened, I think they start learning from each other, and outbursts become not less intense. This isn't about de-intensifying who we are. I mean, why not? There's nothing wrong with going crazy. And I think as we kind of click onto 20 minutes, I think that was one of the things I've taken away from the last few days, is that I think in order to kind of develop spiritually, on a personal level, I think there has to be those moments of pain. There has to be those things that just flip us out, that make us into not arseholes, but seemingly out of control of things that we later look back on and cringe. Could I ever actually say things like that and feel things like that and feel so helpless? But I think they're to a degree key to kind of pushing us on. And then another thing I've realised is obviously be careful when you get the moment in which you go, that kind of elative revelation moment where you just, it's because of this and everything, and have 24 great hours before you sink back into your hole with further complications and realising you're not the genius that you thought you were in a moment of fucking telling the world that you got it right. Anyway, I'm probably going to have another glass quietly and then go and tootle in the direction of the populace. I hope you're all well, and I wish you all a pleasant weekend. Cheers, fuckers.
Think of how you're